Joe Gillis was a crappy writer with not many movies to his name. A couple days back he was murdered. The question isn't who this time, it's why. What caused Norma Desmond, silent film star who's been quiet for decades, to come out of her shell and shoot the poor boy? I guess we should start 6 months ago. Joe owed $300 to Rippo Men to pay off his car mortgage. According to them, he was being very difficult. He wouldn't pay. Safe to say he was strapped for cash. Betty Schaefer said he came into her work about an hour after the men said they had talked to him. Coincidentally, he was looking for cash. He wrote a screenplay called Bases Loaded, but Betty said it wasn't very good. Told him so, too. That wasn't the end of their meetings, no, but that's for later. The repo men say they saw and chased Joe in his car a few days after that, but they lost him on Sunset Boulevard. A month or two later, the men found the car in the driveway in one of those great big mansions on Sunset. The house looked deserted. Months later, many report seeing Joe at Artie Green's New Year's party. He was talking to Betty Schaefer, who was also Artie's fiancée. One witness reports hearing them talk about a project together. Joe asks Artie about using his phone and then calls a man he refers to as Max. When he gets off, he quickly leaves and is not seen again for the rest of the night. Later, Betty revealed that she and Joe had been meeting at night for weeks on end to work on a script. In that time, she says she fell in love with him. Betty receives a phone call. It's from Norma Desmond, the silent film actress mentioned before. She tells her that Joe is trouble. About a minute later, Joe calls Betty, tells her to come over to his house. When Betty arrives, she identifies Max von Merling, an old Hollywood director, in fact, one of Norma's, along with being her first husband. Safe to say that Max is the same Max that Joe was talking to on the telephone. Joe tells her to leave and to be with Artie. She leaves in tears. A neighbor of Norma reports hearing yelling coming from outside the house, a man, likely Joe, then 3 shots outside the house, in which they call the police. When the police arrived, Norma was acting as if she was on a movie set, talking aloud to Mr. DeMille, a well-to-do director. Max was directing her, but he seemed to understand the severity of the situation, while Norma truly believed that she was being filmed on a sound stage. Well, that may be our story, but it doesn't tell us why. Cut to weeks prior. Norma was seen at Paramount talking with Mr. DeMille. It seems Norma had written a script she wanted directed by DeMille himself. One problem, the script was terrible. I mean, Gillis terrible. And that leads me to my answer. Norma hired Joe to write for her when he pulled into her house running from the repo men, giving him a place to stay in the meantime. During his stay, she fell in love with him, which is why she tried to scare away Betty. When he left, supposedly done with her nonsense, she shot him in a fit of rage. But hell, that's just a detective's theory.